are still on the ground, and they have widened their net in cracking down on illegal mining in Gauteng. And I'm joined now by our reporter, Aviwe Mtila. Aviwe, thank you for joining us. So you were actually on the ground with the cops, and they're actually they're sort of getting to the bottom of these operations. Of course, it's hard, though, because what we're looking at are a network of tunnels that these illegal miners know extremely well. Talk to me about today's operation.
Sally, today we got a glimpse of how sophisticated illegal mining is. This particular group of Zama-Zamas was situated at the top, mountainous top of an old mine, which they use as their base. We got to see just even the equipment they use, those gas cylinders that were there in dozens, the metal equipment, some of the weighing material that they use as they process the gold itself right at the top. You'd understand they have even securities there. So the police were trying to do a bust and a crackdown today, even burning some of those dwellings that they live in. But they only apprehended two. You can imagine there were dozens of police on the ground there with those high-powered rifles. And by the time that they got to that top, which takes about a kilometer to actually walk up there, seeing that no car can go there, they got there to none of those miners being there. We understand initially, according to the drone footage, there were about 11, which eventually ran into the actual mine underground, and those tunnels, we do understand, running, which that mine leads to Katlehong, the police commissioner told us. So it tells you how even underground there, these operations that happen. But let's take a listen to the police commissioner, Elias Mawele, and what he had to say as we were up top in that old mine. Let's take a listen to the PC.
And these guys, they bring the materials here. They wash the gold-bearing material so that they can separate the gold from that material. They are also using the mercury. You'll see next to the vent there, we have also found some of the mercury which they are using. And so when we came here, because our drone, it has shown us that, they are operating here. But because of the challenge of bringing them up here, bringing the police up here, they ran away, they went into the tunnel, and that tunnel, it stretches up to Kagiso. You can see here, down here, that's how they are keeping their,
So what my colleague showing you now is the gas cylinders that they use as part of the operations, Commissioner?
Yes, it's part of the operation. So they put it here. And when they have to process whatever material, then they will connect easily there and start doing it here. So this is their fortress point or their operational area. So we felt that we need to launch this operation here so that we can disrupt them. And it will take them some time to can re-establish themselves.
I mean, that is incredible to actually see how all the equipment is buried by these illegal miners and the cops actually honing in on it and explaining that, of course, this is going to delay their operations, the illegal mining operations. And it's important because we have heard of the lawlessness of some of these gangs for a very long time now. So this is, on its own merit, is very important. But of course, we are all thinking about those poor women who were gang raped last week and when we're going to see someone or people linked to that crime. Any links at all at this stage? I know there were more arrests today, weren't there?
The simple answer would be no, Sally. You'd imagine that this is a community, the West Rand in general, that's been terrorized by illegal miners. I shared some of those stories yesterday where they even so brazen as to knocking door to door, taking wives from husbands and then proceeding and going on to rape them. It's a question that I asked quite pointedly to the police commissioner, Elias Mawele, and he tried to actually say that they're conducting investigations where DNA samples will be taken and other investigations looking into if these suspects could be involved in that heinous crime. But I put it more pointedly, do you have any suspects at the moment? And the simple answer was there are no suspects to that gang rape that we came to be aware of in the early hours of Sunday. Let's take a listen to what the provincial police commissioner had to say on that.
No, as we all know that they appeared before court today, and one of the things, it was for a legal assistance and all those other things. So there's still a process, and it gives us time, even from our side, to ensure that, we allow the specialists, those who are doing the DNA, those who are processing fingerprints, those who are doing all these things to can check whether these people, they are not on our wanted database, wanted suspect database, or they are not repeat offenders, or they are linked with the DNA to that particular incident. And later on, when the victims are mentally ready and physically, emotionally ready, then we can take them through the issue of the identification parade. So I hear people, they talk about the identification parade, but it won't help anybody if you take people who are not mentally and emotionally stable to go and do that identification parade.
But in terms of your investigation, Commissioner, have you identified anyone linked to that gang rape itself when it comes even to the DNA or any of the aspects that you've mentioned? Do you have any suspects out of the 120 you've arrested?
No, we are still awaiting for the results of all those DNA and the fingerprint results.
Aviwe, I wonder if you could just round up, because there have been quite a few arrests over the last few days. We've also heard, I think 3 people now have died, either resisting arrest or in other circumstances. Talk us through those numbers.
So it's many operations that have been happening since that heinous gang rape that happened. Initially, as my colleague Aviwe Mtila alluded, there were 84 that were supposed to appear in court, but 2 of them passed away. Yesterday, in the operations that I was myself at in Randfontein, there were further 46 arrests, Sally, with 1 person having a shootout with the police there, also succumbing to the wounds of that shootout. You'd understand how they carry high-powered rifles that the South African Police Service say they don't have in their arsenal. Rifles such as the AK-47, for example. Today's operation saw 2 more people being arrested by the time that we ourselves had to leave there, given that if the police left, that meant that we also had to leave, because you remember this is a mountainous area where some of these illegal miners still are on the lookout, and they were just overpowered by today. But if we were to stay there, of course, we could have faced some of the brunt of the action ourselves.
All right, so we're looking at over 130 people arrested, and 3, as you say, have been killed. Thank you very much for that update, Senior Reporter Aviwe Mtila. Still to come.